Hi, this is an interview with James Price. James, can you spell your last name for us, please?
Price.
And James, what is your position with DART?
I'm the founder of DART. It's the humanitarian aid arm of Death Valley magazine. My position is primarily mission team leader, where I go in first, arrange everything, and then have the team come in so the team can just go start working right off the bat. There won't be any wasted time. I also have most of the connections and experience working in hostile environments in the third world.
Okay, and so James, what was the mission of DART on this occasion?
This mission was to provide humanitarian aid to the refugees that are escaping ISIS in northern Iraq. The majority of the refugees have escaped to Kurdistan, which is an autonomous country here, technically still part of Iraq. But the Kurdish government has kindly let them in, where previously, if you were not a citizen of autonomous Kurdistan, they wouldn't let you in. It was weeks and weeks and months of trying to get a visa. So they've kindly let them in. Unfortunately, at close to 1 million refugees now, they simply don't have the resources to take care of them, provide them food, water, shelter, and things like that. So right now in the States, there isn't much being done. You're not hearing about people coming over. You're not hearing about the U.S. sending aid here. In fact, U.S. aid has abandoned the country. They consider it too dangerous. They abandoned their house. They're not even here. So it's a proof that Americans care. I know Americans care. And so we started this mission, started the fundraising, received outstanding support, and as a way to, and so we were now able to put American boots on the ground here in Kurdistan.
So what was the idea that started this mission, apart from the fact there's a lot of suffering here? A lot of people have said at home, yeah, like you've said, they want to give money, they do care, but this is an extreme step for a lot of people. Why don't you tell me a bit more about that?
Well, like everyone else, I kept seeing the news reports on TV of all these Iraqi Christians and other religious minorities simply leaving with their clothes on their back, with literally their villages being bombed and burned as they were leaving, the mass rapes, the child brides, and just general genocide. And myself,
And the beheadings.
Don't edit it together. The beheadings, the brutal executions of the Christians and other religious minorities. And I kept seeing it over and over, and then I started noticing, then on the news you were seeing they're all going to Kurdistan. I have 2 years of experience running missions with the Department of Defense and State Department here in Kurdistan. And I know my experience would be valuable here, and not many people have that type of experience, operational experience in this region. So I knew that I would be able to put a team together that would be effective in this region, in Kurdistan, that could help people, especially in the Christian Ankawa district. So I just kept seeing it on the news, and then a friend of mine who's a past murderer here sent me pictures of several mass executions, including children being beheaded. And it was in the evening, and that evening I decided that something absolutely had to be done. So at that time, that night, I put the mission together. I wrote up the fundraising page and put it out, and within 24 hours we started getting donations in. We partnered with LaCima World Missions, which kindly offered stateside assistance, administrative assistance, fundraising assistance especially, and Dave Sparrow of LaCima World Missions has done tons of missions in hostile environments, especially dealing with large refugee populations, so his input was extremely valuable. So that's basically how the mission came about, and then with the hard work of everyone on the team, people stateside who also assisted us, we were able to get here from the concept of the day I decided to do this mission to the day we had boots in the ground was about 3 weeks. So that's one of the things about DART. One of the very foundations of DART is that we can get in country, get there fast, put out as much aid as we can strategically in areas that require assistance, so that they can hold off until it becomes safer and the big aid organizations can come in.
So, what do you feel about the mission? How do you feel about this mission? How do you feel this mission went? Do you feel like you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish?
I feel like we've accomplished way more than I ever expected that we were going to. I thought we'd be able to do maybe 2 camps. 1 camp actually was originally what I thought we'd be able to do based on the amount of funds we had and the time we had. But we were unbelievably able to provide aid to 5 different camps who desperately needed our help. We helped about 4,300 refugees total on this mission, on this 10-day mission. So I'm extremely proud of that. The team members did an excellent job. Everything worked out way over expectations.
So, Nkawa and Erbil were touted as places that would be overrun by ISIS in the very short few weeks. What do you feel about the security now in Erbil now that you've been here for the past almost 2 weeks?
I feel the security situation has definitely improved. The threat of ISIS trying to take Erbil has pretty much passed at this point. They aren't, right now, because of all the bombings by the U.S. drones, they aren't able to operate as a standing army up here as much as they used to be. But as I predicted, they're now moving back to insurgent tactics, using IEDs, using VBIDs, explosive vehicles, things like that. So that risk has gone up substantially. The risk of invasion is lowered, but it's still a war here.
So would you feel that it would be safe for the UN and USAID and some of these big aid organizations worldwide to come in here safely with their people and begin to deliver the much needed aid?
Absolutely. Especially with the large aid organizations who have their own security team, who have the large budget to provide secure housing, to provide vehicles and protection that they needed up here. It's simple. They could be here today if they chose to.
Right. What message would you have for the UN and other aid organizations?
Have someone with experience in this area come up here and analyze the needs. Like, one of the things they're doing here is they're giving out these humanitarian aid ration crackers that might work fine in somewhere like Southeast Asia, but here in a hot, arid desert environment, you're giving people something that they need to drink water with. And so now you're using up water supplies simply to get nutrition into people, and they're also expensive. When you could, for one aid cracker package, you could feed a family for a day. And the other thing is, they don't eat these things. They don't eat these weird, sweet, peanut buttery, oily crackers. It's simply not in their diet. Just like in World War II in the UK, when they were handing out rations every day to all the people hiding in the subways, people started starving to death because they were eating the same thing every day, and they simply stopped eating even though they were starving. So these aid organizations need to identify what the local population eats. They need to identify how to source it locally instead of bringing in connexes, spending the money on bringing in connexes and connexes full of these rations that no one eats.
So how much did it cost you per individual, did you calculate, to feed and provide humanitarian aid for each one of these refugees or IDPs?
For the 4,300 refugees, IDPs that we provided assistance to, it cost us about $7.35 a person to provide 10 days worth of aid to them.
Very good. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised that we were able to stretch out the funds that way, but that was due to our local contacts that I established here previously, the experience that I gained on the mission in the Philippines for Typhoon Haiyan, that to source things locally as much as possible, to only use the expensive things like trucks and large transportations and other vehicles only when necessary. Hire them by the day. That's cheaper. Source food locally through people who want to help, not just going to a grocery store. We went to a Christian radio station here who had contacts in a small grocery store, who then sourced our food for us, and we bought it at wholesale. Same with the shoes that we bought. We bought 1,000 pairs of shoes. We were able to source them on the local market through an individual who wanted to help. So it's being able to purchase things from people who want to help. Obviously, they still have to stay in business, but if you can get it at wholesale, It makes a world of difference. And the medication we were also able to source at wholesale prices because we established contacts with the pharmaceutical manufacturing company and the Kurdistan Children's Hospital.
What was the number one accomplishment, or maybe the number one or two highlight of the mission for you?
The highlight of the mission was helping the children and being able to form this partnership with the Kurdistan Children's Hospital to be able to not only provide minor medical aid with the pediatric physicians from the Kurdistan Children's Hospital. We were actually able to provide physicians who spoke the local languages and were able to write prescriptions for us, which was a big deal. So that is one of the big highlights from the mission that I didn't expect to happen.
And did you pay for all those prescriptions?
Yes, DART paid for those prescriptions through the donor money that we received. One of the big problems was some of the camps were getting physicians coming in and seeing patients, but they didn't have any money for the prescription. So they're basically only giving diagnosis but no medication, so it didn't do any good. And the patients, the refugees that were being seen, were getting frustrated because the doctors had great intentions, but they kept coming to these camps saying, okay, you're sick and you need to take this medication. They have no money. They have the clothes on their back. So I'm glad that we were able to not only provide the physicians, but we were able to purchase the medication they needed on the spot right when they got seen by the pediatric physicians.
So if you were to talk to America right now and tell them something about Erbil, about Kurdistan, about your experience here, your team, the refugees, what would you want to tell America? What would you want to tell your friends, your family?
As far as Kurdistan is, I tell people to look at a map of this region and find one other country one other Islamic country that would not only take in every Christian refugee who needed to be protected, that would also go into battle, die, just to protect them so that they can get here. That tells you everything you need to know about the people of Kurdistan, in my opinion. The team is an excellent team. Our team did great. Even though each person had a specific function, everyone did everything. We had security people digging ditches. We had team leader, myself, carrying stuff. It doesn't matter. We were all able to not only use our very specific skills, we were able to, on the fly, be able to do anything else that we needed to do.
What would you want to tell your family, friends, and America about this whole mission?
That we proved to the world and also the Kurdish people and the Iraqi Christian refugees that despite the U.S. government's stagnation and for providing any serious military support or aid here, especially since U.S. aid is not even in the country, in Kurdistan anymore, that the American people themselves care about the people here. They care what happens. They care that they're suffering here, and they care enough to open up their wallet. Everyone wants to talk about Kurdistan and what's happening to the Christian refugees here, but the American people for this mission opened their wallet up, gave us money. We were getting donations for this for odd amounts, $4.12, just like the last mission in the Philippines, and they'd accompany them with a note saying, I'm sorry, this is all I can give, but it's literally every penny I have in my bank account. These are the type of people that represent America, and we took their money and helped thousands of people in this country, in a country that they probably haven't even heard about until I've mentioned it to them. So that makes me extremely proud.
Thank you. Thank you, James. I appreciate your time today, and good job. Yeah, this is David Hale and Daniel Borgas reporting from Erbil, Iraq.